Bitcoin is taking a step back from its $25,000 high since August. Joining us now to discuss crypto markets is Katie Talati. She's head of research at investment firm Arca. Welcome, Katie.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Glad to see you. So the SEC in the past 24 hours, they filed charges against Do Kwon and Terraform Labs. Did that have any impact on the crypto markets? It seems that there was a little bit of a sell-off after that all came out.
I would actually say the price action this week has been pretty interesting. Hasn't really been following a lot of the headlines. Actually, we kind of rallied a bit after some of the stablecoin regulation came out earlier this week against Paxos and BUSD. And then, if anything, I would actually say the news that the SEC is suing Terraform Labs and Do Kwon isn't really that impactful to current, prices of digital assets. It's really much more a isolated incident at this point. I think, this event happened 9 months ago or more. Yeah. And really there's not much more that, can kind of be, that can kind of impact the market, I think, from that standpoint. I think much more of the performance is tied kind of partially to the macro picture, partially to the fact that, there's this kind of regulation overhang looming over the market right now. And then also I think the market is rallying despite these efforts because there's actually been some good news for, Bitcoin, for Ethereum, for other assets in the market.
So do you think, though, when it comes to the headlines, you said that it rallied in spite of the headlines, but do you think that perhaps it rallied because of the headlines? In other words, people dumping BUSD for Bitcoin as a flight to safety, maybe not selling it out for another stablecoin just yet, but sort of saying, hey, look, you know what? Let's just buy that Bitcoin, get rid of the BUSD we have on our books. God knows where it's going to be. And remember, Binance is the largest exchange in the world. And if you wanted to use the stablecoin, you had to use BUSD when you were on there. So now you got to dump it for something. They dumped it for Bitcoin and maybe some other crypto. Do you think that that's kind of what led to this pop in prices as the news started coming out? The rumors first, before the news came out, that led to this rally in the past few days?
So I actually think it's more the opposite. I think that a lot of people were kind of expecting worse regulation to come out. And so for a lot of people, they were front running that news, selling off. And as soon as they saw that it was kind of not nearly as dire, for example, there was a rumor going around online that Circle had received a notice and that they were being sued as an unregistered security, which seemed really out of left field. And that was quickly proven to be fake. But for example, I think a lot of people were kind of expecting something more hard-lined along those lines. And I think that, going after BUSD, while sort of surprising, was not completely out of left field. To be clear, BUSD is the preferred stablecoin on Binance's exchange, but they do also support Tether, USDT, for trading. So it's not like customers would have another option necessarily. And then in addition to that, we've actually been watching kind of like stablecoin AUM and flows for BUSD for the last bit of time. And we've seen definitely like a decrease compared to like Circle or USDC and Tether. But we aren't seeing anything like, 10, 15% decrease in stablecoin AUM day over day, really more in the 3 to 5% range.
All right. Well, over the past week, we've seen Bitcoin on a tear, rallying and breaching $25,000. Now, some profit taking happening. Do you see this as just a bear market rally or something that could potentially be more sustainable?
It could be something more sustainable. As I kind of mentioned earlier, there's some like really interesting things happening on Bitcoin, very much under the radar, but kind of the new theme that's been emerging in the last week or so has been Bitcoin NFTs. So basically a layer on top of Bitcoin where people can have a Satoshi represent one particular NFT. So this has potentially led to way more activity on Bitcoin and makes a use case that, Bitcoin could increase its fees which would be better for miners since mining rewards will eventually run out in the future. So that's, definitely increased a lot of activity and hype around Bitcoin, I would say, in the last couple of weeks. That could also be a reason for Bitcoin's rally or increase in activity. But that's definitely going to be something that will be felt over the longer term.
Let's switch gears and look at the NFT marketplace. So OpenSea's dominance in the NFT ecosystem is being challenged by competitor Blur and their rapid ascent. They've also airdropped a native token that is surging in price. Do you see users sticking to the platform after the airdrop, given the competitiveness of the NFT marketplace?
So it seems like people will for now. The big differentiator between Blur and OpenSea, there's a few things. They definitely have more, I would say, professional tools for folks who are trading large amounts of NFTs. The second thing is that Blur doesn't charge any fees right now, which is why they've been able to gain such a big user base, and they've been able to actually beat out OpenSea on volumes in the last little bit of time. They also announced with airdropping their token on Wednesday that they're going to be continuing to offer token incentives for people trading on the platform. So right now, there's really no incentive to go back to OpenSea. Most people are going to be, choosing to stick to Blur, especially if they're on the more professional NFT trading side of things.
Do you see any concern in terms of the volumes? I mean, this seems to get kind of like to have spiked out of nowhere, so to speak. Is there any concern that whether or not the volumes are serious?
I mean, that's definitely a concern. I mean, I think in any kind of airdrop program, a lot of projects definitely see a spike in activity when people know that an airdrop is coming. It's called farming airdrops. People are trying to increase their own activities so they can increase their chances of getting this free token allocation. However, this didn't technically come out of nowhere. Blur launched last fall, and I mean, the NFT marketplace volumes have been moving steadily up since about December, I think the week around Christmas. And a lot of that activity was definitely being driven by Blur. The main difference between Blur and an OpenSea and a lot of other platforms is that it allows you to bulk buy and bulk sell NFT collections. And because NFTs are obviously each very distinct, it's really hard on a place like OpenSea to say, hey, I want to buy 10 NFTs from this one collection. It doesn't matter which ones. I just want the cheapest ones. You can't actually do that anywhere in most venues except Blur. So the fact that Blur allows that has increased the volume, because instead of people having to say, oh, I have to go individually and do one transaction per NFT trade, they can go and say, hey, I want to buy 10 at once or 20.